Hello and welcome to your online business taster session with myself, Mr. Armstrong. Wonderful to see you. The fact you're here means you have an interest in business. I myself am very passionate about business and I cannot wait to see you on my course if you opt to study business during your time in sixth form. So today we're going to look at a couple of concepts. We're going to look at branding and organisational structures. For this session you will need a black pen, a green pen and a ruler. To start with, can you please put the title Business Taster Session at the top of your page with today's date? To do so, please pause the video now. Okay, moving on to our 5 a day. I've incorporated 5 words that begin with M today just to make it really consistent. Thought it would be an interesting challenge. I appreciate that some of you may not be that familiar with business, therefore I've tried to make these as accessible as possible to all of you. Okay, so there are 5 questions. Essentially you need to fill in the blanks. You need to identify the term that begins with M for each one. I'm going to give you 4 minutes and 21 seconds to do this. To do so, please pause your video now. Okay, time for your green pens, please. Give yourself a mark for each and every one of your answers. To do so, please pause the video now. Excellent, well done. Okay, so we're going to quickly discuss a couple of these. So hopefully, the majority of you have had the opportunity to play the game Monopoly. Okay, so we know the idea of Monopoly essentially is to dominate the board, to own all of the properties, essentially to be like the one individual left in the actual game. Okay, much like a Monopoly essentially is a market dominated by one business. Okay, so that one business can potentially set the prices the way in which they want to set the prices because they have no competition. Okay, so they have a lot of power. McDonald's have the biggest market share in the fast food industry. Why do McDonald's have such a large market share? Excellent. I'd imagine you've come up with some really good ideas to explain why that is the case. And obviously it's largely to do with branding as well. And branding is something we're going to look at in due course. Motivated staff are productive. Okay, how can an individual, how can a business motivate individuals? What can they do? Yes. Okay, good, absolutely. So we know that obviously individuals are motivated in different ways, and organisations also need to think of the best ways to motivate their staff, because if they have motivated staff, then ultimately they're going to be more productive. And what we mean by productive is that they produce more, okay, they're working harder, and they're more inclined to remain within that particular business. Okay, so we're going to start off today's session by looking at branding. So first of all, the key question that I want us to really develop our confidence with is, what is a brand? I'm going to give you 19 seconds now to read this information down. Please feel free to make notes. To do so, pause your video now. Excellent. Okay, so we know now what a brand is. We know and we appreciate that obviously when it comes to branding, there are a variety of brand logos that are used so a business can differentiate themselves from their competitors. We know as well, obviously, there are other aspects of the business that are used to really enforce and to strengthen that brand. And we're going to look at a few of the strategies and a few of the attributes of brands as we move through this session. Okay, so we're going to start with a challenge. Name that brand. What is this brand? 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Nike. Okay, that Nike, that's a really quite an easy start to this branding challenge. Nike. Okay, Nike is really recognizable because Nike has been around for a very long time. Okay, and they sell a large number of products. Okay, they have a large range of sporting apparel, so therefore they're very recognizable. Second one, are we ready? Name the brand. 3, 2, 1. Yes, absolutely. Okay, the golden arches is of course McDonald's. Okay, hopefully you got that one as well. Okay, so this branding challenge is quite easy so far, isn't it? It's going to get harder. What about the colours? What colours, okay, do you associate, or what brand even do you associate these colours with? 3, 2, 1. If you got BP, well done. Okay, so BP, obviously yellow and green colours. Obviously we associate those with BP, those particular types of green and yellow. What are these? 3, 2, 1. B and Q, absolutely, you can do it if you B and Q it. Okay, so B and Q. So when you see the orange and white, quite often you'll think of B and Q. Okay, so obviously that consistency of the brand makes us think of B and Q. What about this colour? An easier one? Excellent. So this is obviously Cadbury. So obviously you get this Cadbury on the Cadbury Dairy Milk bars, for example, the Cadbury bars. And this is a colour that essentially Cadbury have developed their legal ownership of this colour. Okay, so this is a colour that Cadbury's have made their own. What brand's this? Did you get it? Burger King. Okay, that's a bit challenging. Obviously, it was only a particular a small part of their brand, their logo itself. What about this one? 3, 2, 1. Do you get it? Beats headphones. Okay, wonderful. So, what makes a brand successful? Okay, I want us to try and explain what makes a brand successful now. I've given you a sentence starter in purple. So there are many attributes that make a brand successful. This includes, so I want you to think about one attribute that makes a brand successful and explain why that attribute is important to a business. Okay, so it's really, really important we understand and we appreciate the importance of brands and what makes brands successful. These brands did not sort of form overnight. They are not new brands. Okay, they have a history of success. And the reason they have that success is something that I'd like you to carefully think about. Okay, so I'm going to give you 4 minutes and 28 seconds now to answer this question. Good luck. Please pause your videos now. Okay, so this is an example of what you could have come up with. So there are many attributes that make a brand successful. This includes the quality of the product or service that they produce. This is important because the customer associates the quality and the general experience they have with a specific brand. If the experience is a positive one, they shall be more inclined to purchase the product again in the future. So absolutely. So, for example, Nike, Adidas, these particular brands have been successful because they have a history of producing high quality products. If, for example, Nike and Adidas produce products of poor quality, products that fell apart, then ultimately people will be less inclined to purchase them in the future. Okay, so that brand is really, really important. And now because Adidas and Nike have developed such strong reputations, they can successfully sell their products just by incorporating their brand on those products. Okay, so they almost don't need to advertise as much as they do because of the perception that people have of those brands. Okay, moving on to quickly look at organisational structures now. So an organisational structure outlines the roles that individuals have within an organisation. So if you look at this image at the bottom, you'll see there are various layers of authority within this organisation. So each box here represents an individual. So you have somebody at the top of the organisation, usually the chief executive, who has the most power, the most authority in the organisation. And then obviously the power flows down the organisational structure to the individuals at the bottom. Okay, so the individuals at the bottom, they obviously have the least power in this organisational structure. So why may it be important to have an organisational structure in a workplace? I was to think about that. I was to think about why a business would actually formulate an organisational structure to lay out the position of each individual within the workplace. I want us to try and answer this question I have a keyword bank that I want you to use, because I want you to adopt these terms, incorporate these terms within your explanation. So the words authority, the words instructions, the word instructions, and the word division, the words division of work. Okay, so they're really, really key terms I want us to try and incorporate within our answer. I'm going to give you 2 minutes and 58 seconds to answer this question. Please use sentence starter and please incorporate the key terms. Good luck. Please pause your videos to do this now. Okay, so once again, look at my example in green to help you have a look at yours, correct and refine it if needs be. But essentially, an organisational structure is important, so it's clear as to who is in charge of who, and it's clear as to where the instructions should be passed. Okay, so for example, the CEO, the chief executive at the top, will pass the instructions to these two individuals below them, these two what's known as subordinates, and the subordinates will then pass the instructions down to their direct subordinates, the individual below them, and these instructions will pass down the hierarchy. Okay, the longer the taller the hierarchy, basically the longer the chain of command, the longer it may take for those messages to travel down the structure itself. So the messages could potentially become distorted, so that could be an issue with a tall organisational structure. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed the whistle-top tour of business. Okay, obviously there's a variety of concepts I would have loved to have discussed with you, but of course this is a taster, so I'll leave those treats to those that sign up for this course. Okay, really looking forward to starting to teach those new students when they join year 12. If you have any questions, then please do not be afraid to get in contact with myself, Mr. Armstrong at Marine Academy. Okay, take care. See you soon.